Hi, my name is Eric West, and I'd like to first thank you for visiting my blog. Today I had one of those think before you ask kind of a moment when my manager came in and handed me a new project, and as you know, with a new project comes a lot of new information that you're not sure of. The same can be said, when you're graduating from college and you're starting your new career, or if you're switching to a new job, you can be bombarded with a lot of new information. With your first instinct is to go and ask a lot of questions to try to figure all this stuff out. But you really should take a step back and you know figure out what questions should I ask that make them really good quality questions, and how many questions is too many questions to ask. You don't want to annoy the person that you're asking those questions to. This really reminded me back when I first started my job, and I put together this kind of a basic guideline that I like to follow when I have a lot of questions asked of my manager to make sure they're good quality and not going to be wasting their time. The first is to really look over the past documents. This is a very important step because I can almost guarantee that when you go into your manager's office to ask them the question, they're going to ask you, did you look over last year's work paper? And if you can't answer yes to this question, it looks really badly upon you, because they know that this is going to be a very easy way to find most of your answers, because most of the projects that you're going to be doing have been done before, and how the person before you handled it can be found in their work papers to answer your questions. The next is just to do a quick search on Google of your question. Google provides a lot of good information, and you can kind of piece together a really good answer to your questions. The next is to use a database to search. A lot of companies will have a purchase subscription to a database that you can use to really search out like articles and that kind of stuff about your question. And because you're having to do these searches and they're not in last year's documents, it probably means that it's something new, and maybe even your manager won't know the answer to it. And if you've done some good research on it, you can really add to the conversation when you're talking it through with your manager, and it looks really good upon you because you did a lot of good research to try to answer this question. The next thing is to make sure to ask before you even begin. When your manager comes in and hands you a project, just take a quick second to ask them how quickly does it need to be completed, and how much of a budget is there for this project. Because if it needs to be completed really quickly, or there's not a lot of budget for it, your manager should be more willing to accept the fact that you're going to ask a lot more questions because you don't have a lot of time to do the research. The opposite is also true. If there is a lot of time for it to be completed and there's not really a budget for it, the manager will want you to kind of spin your wheels, do a lot of good research and try to answer your questions for yourself before you go ask them. The next thing is you can kind of, as you work longer in the job, you can kind of figure out your manager and figure out what kind of manager they are. Are they one that, likes you to come ask a lot of questions? They like to share their knowledge, or are they a manager that really likes you to dig deep into your work and spin your wheels a little bit because that's how they feel you learn the best. And they also, a lot of times, their time is very valuable, and they can't spend it by answering your questions without you doing a decent amount of research on it first. The next thing is to make sure to compile your questions. You don't want to go ask a question every time one pops in your head, because if you go ask 10 questions every 5 minutes, you've wasted a manager's time, of about an hour. Whereas if you take those 10 questions and you put them together on a list on a piece of paper, you can add some notes from the research that you've done, just in case they ask you. But a list of 10 questions could just take 10 minutes to answer, so you're only wasting 10 minutes of their time compared to an hour. So this can really save your manager from having a lot of downtime, which in the end makes them a lot less grumpy. The next thing is to make sure to always bring a pen and notepad. This way you can always make sure to take good notes, and this is going to be very valuable information to you down the road because you can use it to solve the same situation in the future, so you're not asking a lot of questions twice. That's pretty much all I have. I would like to thank you one more time for visiting my blog. If you liked it, please follow me on this blog, or you can also follow me on Twitter at Eric_West3.